Man, everybody is so quick to dance on the grave for those that bought into sports cards, collectibles, any other type of investment.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Dustin, did you say investment and cards in the same sentence? How dare you? How come nobody talks about time horizon when it comes to buying into these sorts of things? We're going to talk about it today. Stick around. To all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. We are back again. It is another day. It is another sports card collectible style video, and we welcome you back. Thank you very much. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button down below. We need you. We need your help to grow the channel, and we're coming with just about daily collectible sports card styles, content. Also, don't forget to connect with me on IG at SportsCardDad, and I'm also on the Twitter, the SportsCardDad. Big shout out to today's video sponsor, ComC.com, your home for buying, selling, and flipping all the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace, now home to over 30 million trading cards from baseball superstars like Aaron Judge to Marvel favorites like Spider-Man. ComC is something for every type of collector. Visit ComC.com today to build your collection with your favorite cards. Definitely check them out. All right, guys, over the last 12 months, even really more the last 18 months, there has been a lot of ha-has and told you so's going on when it comes to sports cards, collectibles, a lot of things.
Are you all right, man? I think so. How about now?
Crypto, stocks, real estate, whatever. There's been a lot of ha-has and losers and all that stuff. Something I rarely hear talked about in the sports card hobby or in a lot of these markets is time horizon. And what do I mean by that? It's the assumption that someone is buying something, whatever that thing is, and looking to sell it in 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. And in reality, especially when we're looking at certain types of collectibles, there is a long-term thought that goes into a lot of these purchases. And this is a sort of thing that I've had conversations with people at shows. Yes, of course, you've got kind of the short-term flip stuff, which is fun to do. Maybe you're prospecting on certain players. A lot of people do it with first Bowman baseball prospects. Hey, that's all fun. But I've also heard a lot of folks that say, hey, I buy into the first Bowman baseball prospects. I look to flip them as they get called up, and then I put that money into vintage baseball cards or in graded comic books or whatever the case may be. And so, yes, pricing for a lot of this stuff has moved down. Obviously, it's not even a question. You can't really argue like, well, there's a lot of things that are still going up. No, there's not. There's not a lot of things. There might be a few things. PSA 10, SGC 9552 Topps Mantle. There's a few things, sure, but there's a lot that has moved downward in price. But again, people that are holding certain items for the long term, they probably assume that might happen anyway. One example of this that absolutely drives me nuts is the PSA 10 86 Fleer Michael Jordan rookie card. This thing has been talked to death about how this card was selling at $700,000, $800,000, and now it's a $150,000, $200,000 card. The one thing about this, look, there's population 320 on this card in a PSA 10, and then there's just a lot of these out there. You go to the National, you go to card shows, you see quite a bit of the Michael Jordan rookie card. So not a scarce card, but a very iconic card, no doubt about it. But when people say this card was selling for $700,000, $800,000, it gives the impression that there was many sales of this. Like it sold 50 times at $700,000, $800,000. We're talking about literally like a couple of sales, guys. We're talking maybe 2 or 3 sales at $700,000, $800,000. There's a little blip on the radar where that thing hit that number, and then it immediately has come back down. Most of the sales have not been at $700,000, $800,000. There wasn't a period of time, a month or 2 months, where this thing was just cranking at $700,000, $800,000. So we can't really have it both ways, where we're talking about there's not a lot of volume of sales when we're trying to make a point over here, but not talking about it on the high end as well, where it's like all these suckers were paying $800,000 for a Jordan rookie. No, we're talking about literally a couple of sales. And so again, do those people regret maybe buying at $700,000, $800,000? Probably, maybe, I don't really know. Maybe they're like, hell, hold on to it. Maybe it's a billionaire and they're like, whatever. Or maybe they sold out of it at $500,000. They took a couple $100,000 loss and moved on. Who knows? But again, I think that a lot of people that own that card that buy into that PSA 10 Jordan, that is a long-term, long horizon for them. That's a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 50-year game plan. Maybe they pass it down to a family member. Another good example that happened recently, Jeff Wilson, I watched a video where I think he titled it something like the biggest trade that he's ever done in his life or something like that. And he was moving some big cards, including a PSA 10 Jordan rookie card, along with some other really nice cards, smaller cards, to get into, and I believe I had this right, but I think it was a gold Topps Chrome LeBron and a BGS 9, maybe it's the one that's numbered out of 50, and it was at Karn was selling it. Karn, a guy, I met him at Mint Collective, great guy, a really nice guy, I like him, and he's got a monster collection, but he had it, and I think he had it priced at like 300 or something. They had it at 275 was I believe the trade value, and with cash and all that stuff. But Jeff Wilson moving into that card, and basically his thought was, and what he was talking about is, hey, I'm just moving into long-term stuff. And he mentioned that as well on a recent interview with Ryan, Card Collector 2 was interviewing him. And I think Ryan asked him something to the effect of like, hey, what's your game plan in the hobby right now? How are you doing it? What are you doing? And basically, Jeff had said something to the effect of, I'm moving into long-term pieces that I think are going to be important down the road. And I think that's such a huge thing. I've been trying to do similar stuff on a smaller scale, obviously, not buying $250,000 cards, but just athletes, characters, etc., that I think will still be relevant in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, if I'm holding over a long span of time. And so, sure, do I have cards where I paid $300 and now it's sitting as probably a $200 card, or I paid $500 and now it's $350? Yeah, of course. I think a lot of people probably have these cards. But I'm not sitting here crying about it, trying to move out of everything I've got. I accept the fact that stuff could go down. When I'm looking to buy something, I'm looking at downside potential. I'm looking at like, how much can I lose here? I don't think the card will go to zero. Could it get cut in half? Maybe. But then do I think it could come back based on these reasons? Yeah. So a lot of this is just store of value for me. This is a place where I've got fun collectibles, where I've got a store of value, and I think they've got some long-term upside attached to it. And I think that I'm not the only one. I think there's a lot of people that are not necessarily just buying this particular item because in 2 weeks, man, they might go to the playoffs and I might be able to flip this thing for double or whatever. I just don't think that. I think, and actually Neo Cards and Comics brought this up. He went to the New York Comic Con and just mentioned the difference between going to a giant comic book convention as opposed to going to sports cards. And what he was saying is just there's a lot of real like collectors for these Silver Age, Golden Age, Bronze Age comic books. I think you have a similar thing here in cards as well. It's just not talked about as much. It's not a big part of the content that goes out as far as what's a long-term hold for me. You see a lot of kind of the flip stuff, which is fun to watch as far as content goes on YouTube, etc. But I think there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh man, I finally got into this rare card that I'm going to sit on over an extended period of time. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts on time horizon. Have you been dancing on the grave of everybody that might have lost money in the card market? Or are you someone that's like, you know what? I get it. There are things that are long-term holds, and that's kind of where I'm sitting. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.